Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. John Owen talks about sports and movies. Thank you for checking out today's video. I always appreciate the support. I'm first off want to issue an apologize because I have been lacking in the content department. I just finished my last semester of college. Woohoo! So I've been focused on finishing up school and hanging out with my friends and trying to figure out what I'm going to do the rest of my life. So yay, fun times. Anyways, so to make up for that, today we are going to do a triple review. 3 reviews, 1 video, Challengers, The Fall Guy, and King of the Planet of the Apes. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe so you never miss out on any of the fun. Leave your thoughts down in the comments below. I'm so intrigued to see what you guys have to say about these 3 movies. I, at the bare minimum, really like all 3 of these movies. I'm really excited to talk about all 3 of them. I'm excited to hear what you guys have to think. I'm going to issue an obvious spoiler alert for all 3 of these movies. So if you've only seen 1, just watch that review, or 2 or whatever. Or if you don't care about spoilers, feel free to watch the whole video. Without further ado, let's get into it. All right, first off, we're going to start with Challengers. This movie was a certified grand slam. All right, let me tell you something about this movie. This movie scratched my brain in a way that it has been scratched before. I am obsessed with this movie. I cannot stop thinking about it. I think about it at least once every day. Every day, no question. I love the fact that it's like an original type of film, a very interesting concept. But I think what I really like the most about it is, guys, this is a love triangle. Most of the time when we get a love triangle, it's more like a love L. So this person and this person like this person, but they don't like each other. It doesn't make the actual triangle. This, however, everybody's into everyone. And I loved it. This is one of, if not arguably, the most lustful, sensual, let's call a spade, horniest films I've ever seen in my life. The chemistry between everyone is insane. You know, I expected it to be witty and there would be really good chemistry between Art and Tashi, and then Patrick and Tashi. But Art and Patrick, there's so much tension there. Sexual. There's a lot of tension there. A lot of tension between them. Also, Patrick, like they show him to be bi, literally when he's swiping on Tinder. Women and men pop up, and whenever Art and Patrick end up making out, they don't stop, even though there's obviously not another person there. And Art was excited, to say the least. So I loved this movie. Not just because, obviously it's, like everyone's sweaty and everyone's so hot and all those things. We love those things. But one thing that really stood out to me was the way, like, the story structure, kind of intercutting it with flashbacks and flashing forward to the tennis match and swapping back and forth. And then where that all leads up to the end of Art and Patrick's match at the Challenger. Excellent. Whenever, like, it would show, whenever Art was doing really well in the match, it would do a bunch of scenes where Art's catching kind of victories, I guess, in that sense. And when Patrick, was kind of dominating the match in real time, in the present time, it shows flashbacks of where he's gaining favor. What I think that's really the most interesting about this movie is I think that at the end of the day, Tashi loves tennis more than she ever loved either one of them. And it was always just a game with her. It always was. It always was about tennis. When she's like, what else is there to talk about? It wasn't some type of metaphor. It's literally like, there's nothing more important to her than tennis. Art and Patrick just happened to be means to an end. She kind of lives vicariously through them and through this match because of her devastating injury. I think at the end of the day, Art and Patrick care about more each other than they do for Tashi. I think at the end of the day, they're just competitive drive. Tashi just kind of like exacerbated, their competitive drive. That's why they ended up going apart, not because they don't care for each other, but they just have this such this competitive drive to one up each other, and Tashi is the perfect vehicle to kind of express that. So I do think at the end of the day that Tashi cared about tennis more than she ever cared for them, and they cared for each other more than they ever did for Tashi. I think that's just truth. So the story structure was really interesting. These character dynamics are so rich and so strong. Like they're basically the only three characters in the movie besides like the one woman that checks in Patrick and Tashi's daughter and Tashi's mom. Those are really the only like outside of there's like six total characters and those other three characters I can't even remember their names. Tashi, Art, and Patrick, their dynamics are so strong with each other, all three of them, that they're able to just absolutely carry this film on their back, which is an insane display of character writing and characterization. I think what's really interesting is like, and they're also three different, but no one is the outright bad guy and no one is the outright hero. You know, Patrick is a bad person and he wears it on his sleeve. He's like, look, I'm not a good person. I do crappy things. And he wears it on his sleeve. And Art tries to come off as the nice guy, kind of the underdog, but he's sitting there manipulating, playing chess with both of them as well. Like when they're at Stanford, or when Art and Tashi are at Stanford, Art exploits Patrick's kind of brashness and his kind of lower morality. He exploits that in order to get Tashi. He does. No, and then obviously, see, Tashi tries to come off like she is this like moral superiority, but she cheats on Art multiple times. She tries to she sleeps with Patrick to throw the match. Like all these things. So no one, that's what makes everything so interesting, is everyone is so morally gray that everyone's justified and yet no one's justified, So I just think it was just a super creative film. The story structure, the characterization, the concept, those three characters, those three areas, this movie just absolutely excels in. I mean, I'm talking like elite work. And I shouldn't be surprised because Luca directed Call Me By Your Name, which is another absolute banger. So I shouldn't be surprised, but this movie is just crisp. And I don't know what kind of cameras they were using, but everyone looks so good. And the tennis was really like invigorating. Like it was very fun to watch the actual tennis going down. My friend Spencer, who went and saw the movie with me, he said that their form was actually like pretty good. So I just loved everything about this movie. The music as well. That little Challengers Match Point theme just rolls through my head constantly. The Man Eater remix is great as well. I just adore this movie, and this movie to me did everything right for me. I have no critiques. So overall, a thrilling, sensual, lustful film filled with twists and turns, challenges will have you on the edge of your seat. The dynamics between Tashi, Art, and Patrick are the backbone of the film. This captivating concept is capitalized on to the max. Zendaya puts in her best performance today as she piles on to a great start to 2024 from Dune 2. An instant classic in every way. I'm going to give it a perfect 10 out of 10 game, set, match. All right. Next, we're going to move to The Fall Guy. To me, this was a fun little action film, and I don't mean that as a bad way. I really enjoyed this film. So, this movie did a lot of what I expected. I expected Ryan Gosling to be charming, give like a very heartfelt performance. I expected Emily Blunt to be great because she is great because she's Emily Blunt. The movie was funny, just like I expected. There was a lot of really good jokes in there and stuff like that. But what I think kind of took this movie for me to just be kind of this like, fun little thing that, I'd probably watch once and enjoy, but never really want to go back to, is two things. To elevate it from that to like, oh my God, I really enjoyed this movie. I want to watch this movie again, and I would be excited to do that, are two things. A was the action sequences, and B, there was a very a more in-depth plot than I was expecting. So I don't know why I didn't really expect this, but I knew he was a stuntman, but I didn't expect the action to be to the level of what it was. This is great, great action. Like really entertaining, really over the top, really well done. It all looks great. Like I'm not thinking, oh, that's fake. Like, no, like this all looks very practical. Um, and it was, and I was really stunned on how high quality the action was. Like, truly, I mean, it is like really, really high level stuff. I figured it'd be okay. I also didn't expect Ryan Gosling's character to actually be able to like do the stuff. I thought he was just kind of like a silly little stunt man, but no, he like knows how to fight and knows how to do all the action things and stuff like that. So it was really, really, really cool to see all that. And then the twists and turns, and I feel awful because I'm blanking on everyone's names, but like the plot twist with the main actor killing the other stunt guy, and the fact that the main actor Aaron Taylor Johnson's character had actually like intentionally loosened the wire or made it like drop faster, whatever he did to break Ryan Gosling's back, and the fact that the producer was in on it and they did all these things to frame Ryan Gosling was really, really well done. And I didn't really expect this movie to have that type of depth, but it certainly did. And so I really, really like this movie. I don't have like that much to say on it because it's not like it's like a super deep movie with a lot of like messaging, like, you know, kind of like subtext or anything like that. It's not. I thought it was really cool the fact that they highlighted stuntmen and these people that do the stunts for all these big movies that we all love. I thought that was really cool. They're really underappreciated. I've got a greater appreciation for them now that I've seen this movie and kind of see the stuff that they have to deal with. So overall, Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt's chemistry is undeniable here. There was more action than I anticipated, and it was done super well. This is a new, interesting, and original story. This new, interesting, and original story highlights a vastly underrated and underappreciated part of the art of filmmaking. The twists and turns are well done as well. Overall, this movie is just really fun. That's all I got to say. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10, and I agree with Emily Blunt and Ryan Gosling. I do, too, enjoy a spicy margarita. All right. This right here, this one meant something to me. Kingdom of Planet of the Apes, my most anticipated for the film of the year, delivered full force. All right, now let me elaborate and explain. I've got a lot to say about this one because I really loved it and I really enjoyed it. I genuinely believe the Rise, Dawn, War of the Planet of the Apes, that trilogy is the most underrated trilogy ever. Those are wonderful, great sci-fi films with wonderful world building, wonderful characters, an excellent protagonist in Caesar, moral dilemmas out the wazoo, the pull and tug and the tension and all that is just so, the special effects, oh my God, the VFX in those movies. The fact that none of the three of those movies ever won an Oscar for visual effects is just disgusting. Outright, it's disheartening. Because how didn't they? I know, like, I think Blade Runner 2049 won one year that they were. I don't remember the other two, but it really was sad that none of those three movies were able to win an Oscar for visual effects or any kind of Oscars, honestly. So I love those three movies. So I was super excited for this one, and it delivered. That's the type of stuff I like to see. So how did it deliver? Maybe asking yourself. So I think what this movie does really well is it builds upon the foundation that the other three movies have laid before it seamlessly. Even though it's many generations later, and I don't know exactly how long it's supposed to be because I thought it was like going to be 200 years, but it doesn't appear to me based off of like the human activity and all that it's like 200-300 years in the past. So many generations. So maybe like a 7,500 year time jump. Anyways, regardless. Excuse me. I'm gonna take a drink of water. I've been yapping a lot on this video. I love Noah. I think what I really like about this movie is this is kind of coming out in like a really um coincidental, ironic time of my life, I suppose, because Noah and this movie is really about him discovering the fact that there's so much out there in the world and there's so much for him to learn, and his whole perception of everything changes. Especially as someone who just graduated college, you do that in college, but now I'm moving on into the real world and everything's about to change. So, I'm about to go on this Noah type arc, and I've been fortunate to be able to travel and experience a lot of different things for a 22-year-old. I've been very fortunate and very blessed. But my whole world's about to change, as does Noah in this movie. So I really resonated with him and his arc, the anxiety and the unsure feeling he feels, and having to overcome that, I thought was really powerful, and it really resonated with me. So I love Noah. I thought he was a great protagonist. He's got so much potential. Caesar's a really hard act to follow up because, we're talking about Caesar here, a fair, morally just ape who tries to do the right thing and sets great rules and does everything and sacrifices everything, right, for the apes, right? That's a really hard act to follow. And I think in this first movie, Noah has set himself up to be a great following for Caesar or to Caesar. So I love Noah. I thought all the apes and all the ape characters in this movie really good. I like Raka. Raka, I think that's his name, the orangutan, a lot. It is interesting to see like their ability, the apes' just ability to speak in general, develop a lot more. Because I think in the first three, I think only like Caesar and Koba and that other gorilla are the only apes that can talk. I'm sure there's a few other ones, but that I can remember kind of off the top of my head. But now all the apes can talk, and they speak like very clear, like English, which I thought was really cool and makes sense. The apes have continued to evolve, the humans have continued to devolve. To that in a second. Anyways, I do. So I like Raka a lot, and him being kind of this like patron saint, kind of acolyte of Caesar, and actually sticking true and to the word of Caesar. And trying to find the books and be like, hey, like this is actually what Caesar wanted. He wanted this coexistence between humanity and apes. And Raka is trying to do that. May's super complicated. Because at first, you think she is just this smart human, but she's still a human. A echo, as Noah calls her. But it turns out she can talk, and there's a lot of humans that haven't really lost their intellect or the ability to speak, which just completely flips this entire world on top of its head. Which is just insane. It's like, oh my God, but that still comes with that human complex morality, because she's selfish. She is so selfish, and she cannot let go of what was. Like Thanos in Endgame basically says, like, to the big three, he's like, you cannot let go of what was, so I have to tear it all down. May's doing the same thing. These other humans that are kind of following her mission are doing the same thing. They can't just let go. It's not good enough to be able to coexist with the apes. They have to reestablish dominance. Which brings me to Proximus, which makes a really interesting point. Is Proximus wrong in his methods? Absolutely. But he knows that if the humans get it, and or if the apes do not get the stuff inside the vault, the humans will try to take back over. They will. He knows in his heart of hearts that he will not, or that the humans will not accept living equally to the apes. They won't. They're not going to do that. They will not accept that outcome. Now, him sacrificing the apes, he says it. He's like, I don't care how many apes it cost me to get in that vault. That's bad. That's not what Caesar meant. That is because when he's talking about apes strong together, he's completely twisting that, construing it into something that it's just not. And he completely forgot the the rule of apes shall not kill ape, or apes don't kill ape, or however Caesar words it. And I think that's really interesting in our current socio-political climate, because there are a lot, and these Planet of the Apes movies have always had a lot of, left-leaning kind of political subtext. And I think this movie follows that trend. In our current climate, there's a lot of cherry picking from religious texts, such as the Bible, or cherry picking from what our founding fathers in this country would say. And we see the type of results that we're getting. You don't get to cherry pick from the book. You don't get to just follow the rules and stuff from the content you can, right? Like you don't get to cherry pick. You don't just get to do that. We see that a lot in our real world, and Proximus is doing, and we see what happens when you do cherry pick and how harmful that can be to others when you do that. I thought that was so interesting. I was like, this is the type of political subtext I like to see. I always say, everything you consume, every piece of media you consume, almost every piece of media you consume, has, at the bare minimum, political subtext. Now, of course, like there are other types of media that are just like political text, right? Like obviously, but there's always some type of political, historical subtext that the piece of media is addressing. Almost every single piece of media you consume. This movie does that. This movie does that with racial discrimination, with colonization, with slavery. I mean, that one's like a little more on the nose, right? Obviously. Hell, media literacy, like all of these things, are addressed and covered in this movie. There are so many parallels to historical events in this movie, and we see how it turned out. And this movie, along with other movies that also talk about political subtext, and stuff like that, are warnings that these are not good things and we don't need to repeat them. So I thought that was really cool. This like, just to see, I love when I can pick up things like that, because I'm like, oh my God, that's so smart. Granted, it's going to go over people's heads on both sides, whether there's, political subtext left or right, or, like whatever, right? Like, there are a lot of that's going to go over a lot of people's heads, but that doesn't mean it's not there. So I thought that was great. I thought Proximus was wonderful. I thought the themes and what this movie kind of covers was also really fascinating and really well done. I loved Noah. I loved all the other apes in the Eagle clan. I loved this new eagle concept, and just like the lore and the depth of that world building was great. And the law, that was very reminiscent of kind of Caesar's rule, his laws, and Caesar was law, and how they're just. And Noah, I just keep going back to Noah's Ark. It just resonates with me so much. Like you realize this little world you've grown up in is not that's out there, and what you may have been told about the rest of the world is just may not be true, and kind of deconstructing those thoughts, deconstructing those biases, and being able to overcome them and then learn and grow from them is so powerful to see on screen, and it really resonates with me. I was like, oh, that was so freaking good. I loved it. I loved it. I loved every single part of it. I loved everything they did with Noah. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And per usual, the visual effects are through the roof. They just do so good. Like, I don't know how over the course of probably post-COVID is probably when I would put a pin in it, how I think on average special effects has been worse. I mean, I don't really know how. Like, the technology is always supposed to be advancing. Like, I don't know how a movie made in 2016, 2017, 2014, 2012, hell, even the Transformers CGI looks better than some of the stuff that they're cranking out today. I could point to big, huge films like The Flash and Thor: Love and Thunder that have either not great or just outright bad CGI. And I don't understand how we keep these studios are getting away with this, and these movies are getting away with this. This movie does not fall in that trap at all. It is at the tippy top of the highest quality special effects you're gonna get in a movie. I mean, I'd put the visual effects in this movie and of the Apes against pretty much any movie. Like, come on, like this movie could go toe to toe. I'm not gonna sit here and say it's the outright best. I would have to like really think about that, but like this movie could go toe to toe with anyone. I don't know if these Apes were motion capture or not. Like, I don't know if Noah, like, because I know Andy Serkis did the motion capture for Caesar, and I don't know if like these Apes are motion capture or not. I'm gonna assume they're not, but the visual effects are just incredible. I mean, just all star, stunning. And I think this movie does a great job of what every first movie should do: tell a complete story within it, but also set up the potential for more story to be told. And I think this movie does that exceptionally well. I think this movie just excels in storytelling, characterization, special effects, world building, the twist that the humans actually can talk. I feel like maybe that might be my only critique in the film, is that like it just kind of came out of nowhere, which is okay because that adds to shock value. But there's not really like as much of an explanation for it, I guess. And maybe actually I just thought of this. Maybe it's like the perception. This movie's about overcoming perception, right? Previously had perceptions. Maybe the perception was none of the humans could speak, and like the virus, the simian flu's mutation was not actually as prevalent as what the apes thought. So maybe their just perception was wrong, but I feel like maybe it was a little bit of a rough explanation. That's like my only like super minor critique of the film, because I want to be fair. But overall, I think this movie just does everything you can ask a movie do to a really high level. Overall, another stellar entry in this series. Kingdom delivers big time. Noah is a fantastic protagonist with a good and relatable arc with loads of potential as the main lead of the franchise moving forward. The world building continues to be excellent, and Proximus falls in line with the other great antagonists of the series, with plenty of subtext and themes relevant to today's socio-political climate. Kingdom will leave you pondering and wonder about the film you just consumed. 10 out of 10, 8 strong together. Thank you so much for checking out today's video. I know this one was a big, long one, but I always appreciate anytime you guys tune in. I'm going to start being better about creating more content and being more consistent. Now that I'm moving to be a full-time adult, I'll have more time. I won't have homework or stuff like that. But check out the link content above and have a great day. Thanks.